What's become a huge concern in Jammu and Kashmir that just witnessed successful elections. Well, in the past 1 week, 11 innocent lives have been lost. The recent one, of course, being the terror attack very close to Gulmarg, where, of course, innocent lives were lost. 2 army jawans and 2 army porters were killed in this absolutely horrific attack. An army vehicle was targeted, and in the past 1 week we've seen a series of such attacks. Of course, what happened in Ganderbal was absolutely shocking, where innocent migrant laborers were also killed. The Pakistan terror agenda is back on the ground, and this comes just days after the meeting with S. Jaishankar. Remember, S. Jaishankar was in Pakistan for the SCO, and we saw top Pakistan politicians talk about peace and talk about how India and Pakistan need to talk on the diplomatic high table. But yet again, Pakistan's terror and talks hypocrisy has been exposed. As the bigwigs talk about peace, on the ground, their proxies kill innocent people. Let me go across live first to my colleague Nazir Masoodi. So Nazir, sir, absolutely shocking what we've seen in the past 1 week. Innocent lives being lost, also in areas which have been rather muted when it comes to militancy.
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, 4 people, 2 army soldiers and 2 army porters have been killed. Fallen army soldiers have been identified as Kaisar Ahmed Shah and rifleman Jeevan Singh, and the 2 porters have been identified as Zahoor Ahmed and Mushtaq Ahmed, both residents of Bonyar in Baramulla district, and also fallen soldier Kaisar Ahmed is also a local from the Kashmir Valley. So clearly huge loss for the army in an area which was free from militancy, but the larger picture is the behavior of the Pakistan. When they push in militants, so there's no change in the Pakistani behavior, despite the repeated they claim they won't talk with India, and recently during the SCO meeting as well. But it's not something new which has happened overnight. We see for the last 3 years, there has been militant footprints have been increased to the south of Pir Panjal, and there have been series of attacks. And the last attack on the army was on 14th of September, during the elections in Jammu and Kashmir, when in fact Prime Minister was in Doda region addressing a rally, when there was an attack in the same area in Kishtwar. 2 soldiers were killed and 2 others were injured. And yesterday we saw when J&K Lieutenant Governor, who is in charge of the security and law and order, was reviewing the security meeting and tells security force to go all out against the militants who have been involved in recent attacks, including attack on these migrant workers, in which 7 people, including a doctor, were killed. So in the evening, we saw this attack in Botapatri in Baramulla district, which is not far away from the Gulmarg. This is a restricted area, but it also shows one thing. The highly trained, these Pakistani militants want to engage army, they target army in the mountains and the forests as part of their jungle warfare. And then they want to target innocent people like the migrant workers, target infrastructure projects, so to bog down the security structure, to increase the cost of state when it comes to the security deployment in Jammu and Kashmir. So it is a multi-pronged strategy. We have seen Pakistan, and while as we saying there was hope that now the elections have taken place, people have decisively sent their message. People of Jammu and Kashmir, they want democracy, they want peace, they don't accept the violence. That was the bigger message, and they believe in the democracy, and democracy can deliver in Jammu and Kashmir. Yet we see these attacks. And as far as the security forces are concerned, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor has said that he has asked the top army officials to carry out swift action and eliminate militancy. But that is not easy. That is easier said than done when it comes to areas like this where this attack has taken place in the mountains, in the forest. Because in the past, we have seen after almost all attacks, militants have managed to escape after carrying out attacks. But security forces have a robust mechanism here to deal with militancy. There are bouts of, violence. We have seen they changed their pattern. For example, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi took oath, 3rd time as the Prime Minister on 9th of this June, there was an attack on a Yatra bus, and then it was followed by series of attacks on the army. And now we see, after new government has taken over in Jammu and Kashmir, elected government, we see spurt in militant attacks, even as the elected government in Jammu and Kashmir has no control over the security and the law and order.
Absolutely.
It is with the Lieutenant Governor and the central government. But clearly it shows a pattern, it shows the designs from across the border to keep the pot boiling in Jammu and Kashmir.
Those are some very important points, Nazir sir, that you are making, that militancy perhaps changing its face, but clear designs of terror from across the border. Thanks very much, Nazir sir, for joining us with that. This, of course, has terrorism and militancy, and its a sudden spike after the elections poses a huge challenge to the newly elected government there as well. Let me bring in my guests this morning. In fact, Yogesh Gupta, former diplomat, is with us. Also, Major General Sanjay Messon, defense analyst. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for being with us. Mr. Gupta, going across to you first. This is something that we've seen with Pakistan for years on end. It talks about peace on the diplomatic high table, but on the ground we see Pakistan backing terror modules, and that has not changed. India has made it clear, terror and talks cannot go together. But certainly that message is something that Pakistan hasn't been able to understand clearly.
Yes, it's a little concerning because, we are getting different messages from Pakistan. We had Nawaz Sharif, the brother of the Prime Minister, who spoke in terms of India, Pakistan getting together, talking to each other, trying to resolve problems and so on. And our External Affairs Minister had recently gone there. He had informal conversations with his Pakistani counterpart, and he had also shown considerable interest. And then suddenly you have these terror attacks from the armed forces. So one is really wondering, whether the armed forces and the civilian leadership, whether they are on the same page, or it's back to their games in the past, where the army was always trying to sabotage the initiatives being taken by the civilian leadership. So one is not sure whether Pakistan as a country, Pakistan establishment or government as a country are together, or again we have a situation of division in their ranks. So to that extent, it becomes difficult for India to respond.
I think that's an important point of making, and Major General Sanjay come in on this, because in the past as well, we've seen that it's never a direct communication, perhaps, as far as the two civilian governments are concerned. It's always, the military establishment calling the shots in Pakistan, and that has not changed, it seems, given the fact that we still see on the diplomatic high table, on various fora, leaders of Pakistan talking about peace in the neighborhood, talking about taking some sort of corrective measures when it comes to terrorism. But on the ground, nothing seems to have changed. So it's still the military establishment, clearly, that's calling the shots, or perhaps, with some sort of complicity of the civilian government as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. Firstly, as regards the Pakistan army and the ISI is concerned, let me tell you, when I was in Afghanistan way back from 2011 to 14, I discussed the Pakistan issue with a lot of Americans who are part of the ISAF. And they used to tell me that they got a lot of Pakistani officers to United States and Afghan officers for discussion and to bring peace in the region. But let me tell you, they were very candid. The Americans and the Afghanis told me that the Pakistan agenda is very clear. When I say Pakistan, I am implying Pakistan army. Their agenda is to destabilize India. And as your spokesman said, Nazir, I think one very good word he stated, the Pakistan behavior. Now, there are two behavior patterns. One is the Pakistan behavior and one is the behavior pattern of the people of J&K. People of J&K have given a very decisive mandate in the elections, and they are for democracy, and this is their behavior pattern. They want peace and they want democracy. Whereas the Pakistani establishment, the Pakistan army, and of course the controlled also the ISI. So let me tell you, their aim, their behavior is not going to change. They are going to keep this spot, this area hot, and their intent is to keep destabilizing India. Sure. And therefore, I totally agree, terror and talks cannot go together. I think India as a nation needs to be very firm with Pakistan in every sphere of life, whether it is diplomacy, whether it is the border deployments, whether it is trade, anything. We have to be totally against them, the way we have been formed with China. And it has paid off. You are aware what has happened recently on the eastern Ladakh side.
Yes,
so
you're quite right in saying that that diplomatic strategy has paid off. But you also talked about the elections, and Yogesh Gupta, come in on this point, because the people of Jammu and Kashmir have sent a very clear message that they want democracy, they want peace in the valley, in the Jammu region, and that they want a stable government. There were times when we saw various Pakistani leaders also talk about how Kashmir, wants this, or perhaps, we are the voice of Kashmir, and so on and so forth. But that debate is settled once and for all. The people of Jammu and Kashmir have made it clear they want democracy, peace, and stability.
Yes, but Pakistani establishment, particularly the Pakistani armed forces and even the civilian leadership, they do not want to accept that message. They think that these people who have formed the government, they are only in a small minority, and that the people at large, they are still following, or they are still supporting what Pakistan wants. That's the whole problem with Pakistan. They have not come to terms with the realities. This happened earlier in Afghanistan. This is happening now here in Kashmir. In Afghanistan also, they wasted 20 years, decades, wasting their time on Taliban. And then Taliban finally said they don't trust Pakistan. Same thing is happening here in Kashmir. Pakistani establishment doesn't understand that the people of Jammu and Kashmir, they want peace, stability, economic development. They want to move on.
Yes, and as you said, that Pakistan is not perhaps able to accept that message and is rattled by the kind of successful elections we've had. Very quickly, Major General Sanjay, the last word to you. Do you think then there has to be some sort of a rethink as far as a diplomatic strategy vis-a-vis Pakistan is concerned?
Yeah, very true. We have to have a rethink, and I think we need to be firm on every sphere. And not only that, I think I see hope now. Since we are now having talks and on ground with the Chinese, I think once the disengagement takes place and de-escalation, we will have large number of troops available for redeployment back. What they are lifted up from J&K, they'll be back in this area. And I think that will be very, very good message that our troops will take care of these terrorists. And I think that's the only way out. And diplomatically and politically, we have to be extremely strong with Pakistan. I think there is no denying the fact that they are never going to relent under. They only require pressure. That is the way the Pakistan.
Absolutely, and that is something that the defense minister also said on the campaign trail. In fact, that we want a peaceful neighborhood, and there was a sort of door that India opened, but Pakistan clearly has failed to walk the talk there. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for being with us this morning. Absolutely concerning there, the number of innocent lives that have been lost in Jammu and Kashmir, and now that civilians are being targeted. It's not just army jawans, and that's extremely shocking.